The deep silence of space wrapped around the secret shipyard hidden in Neptune's orbit. Through the reinforced windows of the observation deck, Admiral Thomas Reed watched the swirling blues and greens of the distant gas giant. His weathered face reflected in the glass, showing the weight of 15 years of secrecy. "Beautiful, isn't she?" Project Director Marcus Wilson stepped up beside him. They both gazed at the massive shape floating in the dock below. That HS Prometheus. Even powered down, the warship commanded attention. Its dark hull seemed to drink in the light, making it hard for the eye to follow its exact shape and size. 15 years, Reed said quietly. "Sometimes I still can't believe we pulled it off." Wilson nodded, his tablet displaying the latest system checks. The Meridian Alliance's inspectors never even got close. They still think we're struggling with basic plasma containment. A small smile played across his face. If they knew what we actually achieved here. Reed turned away from the window, his boots clicking against the metal floor. "Show me the final numbers." They walked together through the observation deck's sliding doors and into a secure briefing room. The walls lit up with detailed technical readouts as Wilson waved his hand. "We've finished the last series of tests. The gravity drive works perfectly, 10 times more efficient than anything the Alliance has made public. The shield systems," he paused, allowing himself a moment of pride. "They don't just stop incoming fire. They bend it back." "And the AI core?" Reed asked, though he already knew the answer. It was the piece of technology that had kept him awake at night for the past decade. "Active and stable. We found a way around the processing limits the Alliance warned us about. Turns out their theories about artificial intelligence had some pretty big gaps." Wilson brought up a spinning diagram of the ship's central computer system. "They think organic brains are the only things that can handle quantum decision matrices. We proved them wrong 3 years ago." Reed sat down heavily in one of the briefing room's chairs. "And now we might have to reveal everything." He pulled up the latest intelligence reports on his own tablet. "The Alliance Council is meeting in 2 days. Our sources say they're going to vote on the Protection Initiative." Wilson's face hardened. Protection. Right. More like a polite invasion. 7 years ago, they did the same thing to the Centauri colonies. Moved in warships, established temporary bases for security purposes. Now the Centauri can't even launch a mining shuttle without Alliance permission. Reed's fingers drummed on the table. "We knew this was coming. That's why we built her." The room's displays shifted to show the Prometheus from different angles. Over a mile long, but somehow elegant despite its size. Its hull was studded with weapons that didn't match any known Alliance designs. The ship represented everything humanity had learned, developed, and kept hidden since first contact 20 years ago. "The engineering team is ready," Wilson said. "We can have her powered up in 6 hours if needed. The crew has run every possible drill. They know her inside and out." Reed stood and walked to the main display. "Tell me about the stealth systems again." "Active camouflage combined with gravity lensing. We don't just absorb or deflect scanning beams, we redirect them around us completely. As far as their sensors are concerned, we're literally not here." Wilson brought up the test footage. "Watch this." The video showed a test drone approaching the Prometheus's position. Its sensors swept the area repeatedly, showing nothing but empty space. The drone passed within 100 meters of the massive warship without registering its presence. And the power core. Stable fusion, enhanced by principles we discovered in their own technical documents. Things they missed, or maybe things they thought we weren't ready to understand. Wilson's voice carried a hint of satisfaction. "We took their carefully controlled technology sharing and found applications they never imagined." A soft chime interrupted them. Reed's comm unit displayed an urgent message. His face grew grimmer as he read it. "Alliance ships just changed course. 6 heavy cruisers, headed for Earth." He looked up at Wilson. "They're not waiting for the council vote." Wilson's tablet clattered to the table. "They're forcing the issue. making sure they have forces in position before announcing their protection plan. How many Earth governments know about this project? About this ship? 3. The others agreed to the compartmentalization protocols. If anything went wrong, if the Alliance discovered what we were doing, Wilson let the thought hang unfinished. Reed walked back to the window, staring at the Prometheus. Get the crew aboard. Start the power-up sequence. If we have to reveal her, I want it to be on our terms. Wilson was already sending the orders through his tablet. Around them, the hidden shipyard began to wake up. Lights flickered on along the Prometheus's hull. Engineering crews moved with practiced efficiency, preparing for what they had trained years to do. The Alliance thinks they know everything about us, Reed said softly. They've spent 20 years carefully controlling what technology they share, making sure we stay dependent on them, teaching us just enough to be useful, but never enough to be truly independent. They're in for quite a surprise. Wilson joined him at the window. Have you ever wondered if we went too far? Built something too powerful? Wilson considered the question carefully. I wonder if the first human to make a spear wondered the same thing, or the first person to split the atom. Tools are just tools, Admiral. It's how we use them that matters. Reed nodded slowly. And we built this tool to protect Earth's independence, to make sure humans stay free to make their own choices, their own mistakes, their own progress. Below them, the Prometheus's main engines began their warm-up sequence. A deep hum vibrated through the station. Crew members in dark uniforms moved purposefully through airlocks and access tubes, taking their positions aboard the ship that almost no one knew existed. How long until those cruisers reach Earth? Wilson asked. 36 hours at their current speed. Reed straightened his uniform. That's enough time to put our plans in motion. Send word to our contacts in the 3 governments. Tell them it's time for Operation Daybreak. And the other governments, the ones who don't know about us, they'll find out soon enough. Better they learn about this ship when it's protecting them than when it's too late. Reed turned away from the window. Humanity kept this secret for 15 years because we had to. Now we'll reveal it because we have to. And the galaxy is going to learn that keeping humanity in a cage was never going to work. Together, they walked toward the docking tube that would take them to the Prometheus. Around them, the hidden shipyard that had protected Earth's greatest secret for 15 years prepared to launch its creation. In 36 hours, the balance of power in the galaxy would change forever. The question was no longer if humanity would reveal its hidden strength, but how the Alliance would react when they learned just how badly they had underestimated the species they thought they could control. The time for secrets was ending. The time for showing humanity's true capabilities had begun. The massive screens in Earth's Global Defense Center show the approaching Alliance warships as bright dots against the dark background of space. Military officers and government officials from around the world gathered in the underground facility, their faces lit by the blue glow of the displays. None of them had expected to be here today. None of them had expected the Alliance to move so quickly. 6 heavy cruisers, General Robert Parker announced to the room. They've taken up positions around our major population centers: Beijing, New York, London, Moscow, Tokyo, and New Delhi. He pointed to each dot on the screen. They're just sitting there, waiting. Defense Minister Alice Cooper stepped forward. She was one of the few who knew about the Prometheus, but she couldn't reveal that yet, not until they were sure of the Alliance's intentions. Have they made any demands? As if in answer to her question, every screen in the room flickered. The image of High Commander Dex of the Meridian Alliance appeared before them. His alien features were arranged in what humans had learned to recognize as a diplomatic expression. People of Earth, the alien leader began, his words automatically translated. The Meridian Alliance has watched your progress with great interest over the past 20 years. We have shared technology, guided your development, and helped you join the galactic community. He paused, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence. However, recent events have forced us to take direct action for your own protection. The room remained silent. They had all seen this before. the same speech given to other young species before they were absorbed into the Alliance's protective embrace. Criminal elements within the galaxy have expressed interest in Earth's resources and strategic location, Dex continued. The Alliance can no longer guarantee your safety without taking a more direct role in your defense. We ask that you temporarily transfer control of your military assets to Alliance oversight. This is for your own protection. General Parker's fist clenched at his side. Protection. They want us to just hand over everything we've built. Defense Minister Cooper checked her secure communicator. A message from Admiral Reed was waiting. Prometheus ready. Awaiting your signal. On the screen, Dex was still speaking. We have positioned peacekeeping forces around your major cities to ensure a smooth transition. Please understand that resistance would be unfortunate. We have only your best interests in mind. Like the Centauri colonies, someone muttered from the back of the room. Everyone knew what had happened there. A once proud civilization reduced to asking permission to fly their own ships in their own space. Cooper stepped out of the room, finding a secure communication booth. She had to contact the other two governments that knew about the Prometheus. They had planned for this, but now that the moment was here, the weight of the decision pressed down on her. The leaders of all three governments connected within minutes. They had been waiting for this call. They're not even trying to hide their intentions anymore, the Indian Prime Minister said, his hologram flickering slightly. They want Earth under their direct control. The Brazilian president nodded grimly. Our intelligence suggests they've already drawn up plans to begin reorganizing our industrial base. They'll strip our resources, just like they did to the Centauri. Cooper took a deep breath. Then we're agreed. We reveal the Prometheus. There was a moment of heavy silence. They had built the ship in secret, breaking multiple technology-sharing treaties. Using it would change everything. We knew this day would come, the Indian Prime Minister said finally. Better to reveal our strength now than submit to their control. The Brazilian president agreed. Do it. Show them that humanity won't be caged. Cooper sent the confirmation to Admiral Reed. Her hand shook slightly as she pressed the button. 20 years of careful deception were about to end. Back in the main room, the Alliance commander was still listing his demands. All Earth military vessels will be required to take on Alliance advisors. Your weapon development programs will be placed under direct Alliance supervision. This is non-negotiable. General Parker was about to respond when his aide grabbed his arm. Sir, massive energy reading detected near Neptune. Every screen in the room suddenly shifted to show a new image. The Prometheus was revealing itself, dropping its stealth fields. The massive warship seemed to materialize out of nothing, its dark hull reflecting the distant sunlight. The Alliance commander's transmission cut off abruptly. Within seconds, he was back, his diplomatic expression replaced by something closer to shock. What is that vessel? Our records show no human ship of that size or configuration. Cooper stepped back into the room, her voice steady. High Commander Dex, allow me to introduce you to the HS Prometheus, a ship we built without your guidance. The alien leader's features shifted rapidly. Impossible. Your technology level. The treaties. You couldn't. Couldn't what? Cooper asked. Couldn't develop our own technology. Couldn't keep secrets from your inspectors. Couldn't protect ourselves. She smiled slightly. I think you'll find humans are capable of many things you thought impossible. The Prometheus was moving now, its engines flaring with power that defied Alliance understanding. It crossed the solar system faster than any known ship, coming to rest between Earth and the Alliance cruisers. This vessel's existence violates multiple treaties, Dex said, but his voice had lost its commanding tone. The Alliance will not stand for this deception. The same treaties that kept us dependent on you, Parker spoke up. The ones designed to keep us weak and controllable. Cooper raised her hand for silence. High Commander, the Prometheus represents only a fraction of what humanity has achieved, while you thought you were controlling our development. We suggest you reconsider your plans for Earth. On the screens, they could see the Alliance cruisers adjusting their positions, their weapons powering up. The Prometheus remained motionless, but sensors showed its advanced shields were active. "You're making a terrible mistake," Dex warned. "The Alliance cannot allow." "Cannot allow what?" Cooper interrupted. "Cannot allow humanity to stand as equals. Cannot allow us to defend ourselves." She stepped closer to the screen. "Look at your sensor readings, High Commander. Really look at them. That ship represents technology you thought was centuries beyond us. Do you really want to find out what else we've developed in secret?" The Alliance ships held their positions, but their weapons remained powered. The next few moments would determine whether the revelation of the Prometheus would lead to war or force the Alliance to reconsider their view of humanity. Cooper watched the alien leader's face, seeing the calculations happening behind those 4 eyes. Everything they had worked for, everything they had hidden, had led to this moment. The time for pretending to be a simple, developing species was over. Humanity had just changed the rules of the game. Now they would see how the Alliance would react to players they couldn't control. Admiral Reed stood on the Prometheus's bridge, watching the Alliance cruisers through the main viewport. The enormous ship hummed with power around him, systems that had never been tested in actual combat ready to prove their worth. The bridge crew worked at their stations with practiced calm, though everyone felt the weight of the moment. "They're scanning us," Lieutenant Foster reported from the sensor station. "Their energy readings are off the charts. They're trying everything to figure out what we are." Reed allowed himself a small smile. "Let them look. Time they learned what humanity can really do." He turned to his weapons officer. "Status of their targeting systems." "They're having trouble locking on, sir. Our hull design is confusing their targeting computers, just like we planned." The young officer's fingers moved across his console. "Their weapons are hot, but they can't get a solution." The main screen lit up with another transmission from High Commander Dex. The alien leader had dropped all pretense of diplomatic pleasantry. "This vessel violates every agreement Earth has made with the Alliance. Power down immediately and prepare for boarding." Reed stepped forward, letting the alien see him clearly. "I don't think so, Commander. Your sensors must be telling you some interesting things about my ship. Would you like me to demonstrate what it can do?" Before Dex could respond, Reed nodded to his tactical officer. The Prometheus's systems came fully online, and for the first time, the Alliance saw what humanity had actually achieved. Gravity sensors on the Alliance ships went wild as the Prometheus manipulated space itself around its hull. Their carefully calibrated instruments showed impossible readings. Human technology shouldn't be able to do this for centuries. "Impossible," Dex whispered, his 4 eyes widening. "Your species can't have mastered gravity manipulation at this level. The mathematical models were wrong," Reed finished for him. "Or perhaps you just didn't want to believe humans could understand them." He gestured to his crew, and new systems activated. "Would you like to see what else we figured out?" The Prometheus's energy weapons powered up, not the simple plasma weapons the Alliance had permitted Earth to develop, but something entirely new. Beams of concentrated force that could bypass standard shields as if they weren't there. "Sir," one of Dex's officers called out in the background. "They're targeting systems. They're operating faster than organic response times." "Of course they are," Reed said calmly. "Did you really think we wouldn't develop AI beyond your artificial limits? That we wouldn't see the holes in your theories about machine consciousness?" The Alliance ships began to back away slowly, their own weapons still unable to get a lock on the Prometheus's shifting hull. Everything they knew about human technological capabilities was being proven wrong in front of them. Project Director Wilson stepped onto the bridge, carrying new sensor readings. "Admiral, the other Alliance ships in the system are changing course. They're moving to support positions." "Let them come," Reed said. "Time for the next demonstration." He turned back to the screen showing Dex. "Watch carefully, Commander. You might learn something." The Prometheus's engines flared, and the massive ship seemed to blur. When it reappeared, it was behind the Alliance formation. Not just faster than their ships, faster than their sensors could track. The maneuver should have turned the crew to paste, but the ship's gravity control made it possible. How many other secrets have you been keeping from us? Dex demanded, his composure cracking. How long have you been hiding these developments? Reed's expression remained neutral. Long enough to know that your protection was never about helping Earth. Long enough to make sure we'd never be trapped like the Centauri. He paused. Long enough to build more than one ship. That last part was a bluff. They had only the Prometheus for now, but the Alliance commander's reaction showed it hit home. If humans could hide one ship of this capability, who knew what else they had concealed? The Alliance Council will not stand for this deception. Dex tried, but his voice lacked conviction. The Council might be more interested in learning how a primitive species managed to advance this far right under your noses. Wilson spoke up. How many of your theories about technological development need to be reconsidered now? On the tactical display, more Alliance ships were arriving in the system. Soon, there would be 20 cruisers facing the Prometheus. Reed wasn't worried. Their simulations had shown they could handle far more than that if needed. Look at your sensor readings again, Commander, Reed suggested. Really look at them. The power curve from our engines, the way our shields absorb energy, the speed of our targeting systems. Now ask yourself, do you really want to start a fight with a species that could develop all this in secret? The bridge crew watched as the Alliance commander consulted with his officers. They could see the moment when understanding truly hit him. The humans hadn't just built an advanced ship. They had completely upended the Alliance's understanding of technological progression. The Alliance will need to discuss this development, Dex said finally. We cannot simply. You can't simply let Earth remain free. Reed finished for him. I think you'll find that's exactly what you're going to do. The time for treating us like children is over. Wilson stepped forward. We've proven we can develop technology beyond your expectations. We've proven we can keep secrets when needed. Most importantly, we've proven that your assumptions about human capabilities were wrong. The Alliance ships held their positions, caught in an impossible situation. If they attacked, they would learn exactly what the Prometheus could do in combat. If they retreated, they would be admitting that their power over Earth was broken. Think carefully about your next move, Commander, Reed advised. The Alliance has built its power on controlling the flow of technology, on keeping younger species dependent. That game is over, at least with humanity. The tension on the bridge stretched out as they waited for the Alliance's response. Every crew member knew they were witnessing a moment that would change human history, the moment when humanity proved it wouldn't be contained or controlled. Around them, the Prometheus hummed with power, its advanced systems ready to demonstrate even more capabilities if needed. But Reed hoped it wouldn't come to that. The ship wasn't built to start a war, but to prevent one. To show the Alliance that humanity couldn't be safely dominated. The next few moments would determine whether the galaxy would see a demonstration of human military power, or if the Alliance would recognize that their carefully maintained hierarchy of species had just been shattered by human ingenuity. The massive halls of the Alliance Council chamber had never been so crowded. Representatives from all 7 member species packed the room, their voices a mix of different languages as they argued about the situation on Earth. The emergency session had been called immediately after the Prometheus revealed itself, and now, 3 days later, the debate still raged. Project Director Wilson stood calmly at the speaker's platform, facing the assembled alien leaders. Behind him, a hologram showed the Prometheus in all its glory. He had spent the last hour explaining exactly what humanity had achieved, and the Council was still struggling to accept it. Impossible. The Regulan representative slammed his crystalline appendage against his desk. No species could advance this quickly. The technological progression models are clear. Wilson touched his tablet, bringing up new diagrams. Your models were based on assumptions about how species develop. We simply found different paths. He highlighted several sections of the ship's systems. For instance, you assumed gravity manipulation required mastering crystal matrices first. We discovered a way to do it with quantum field generators instead. The council chamber erupted in fresh arguments. The Prometheus hadn't just violated their technology-sharing treaties, it had proven their fundamental theories about scientific advancement were wrong. Admiral Reed watched from the gallery above, along with Defense Minister Cooper. They had agreed to this presentation to prevent war, but they were revealing only part of what humanity had achieved. "Look at them," Cooper whispered. 20 years they spent thinking they had us safely contained, developing exactly as they planned. Now their whole system is falling apart. Below, Wilson continued his presentation. The AI core that runs the Prometheus doesn't use the quantum decision matrices you thought were essential. We found a way to create stable artificial intelligence using organic programming principles instead. This revelation caused even more chaos. The Alliance had built its technological hierarchy on carefully controlled development paths. Every species was supposed to follow the same steps, take the same amount of time to advance. Humanity had just proved that entire system was built on false assumptions. The real question, Wilson raised his voice over the commotion, is what happens now. Earth has proven we can't be safely controlled. We've demonstrated technology that matches or exceeds Alliance capabilities in several areas. How do we move forward from here? The head of the council, a tall figure from one of the oldest Alliance species, leaned forward. "Move forward. You've violated every agreement Earth made with the Alliance. You've developed forbidden technologies in secret. Some would call these acts of war. And yet we haven't attacked anyone," Wilson pointed out. The Prometheus revealed itself to prevent conflict, not start one. We built it because we saw what happened to other young species who couldn't protect themselves. The chamber grew quiet at that accusation. Everyone knew about the Centauri, the Drachnids, and other species now living under Alliance protection. "We've received reports," another council member spoke up, suggesting the Prometheus might not be your only secret project. Wilson smiled slightly. This was the moment to play their final card. The Prometheus represents only a fraction of what humanity has achieved. Would you like to see our advances in medical technology, our breakthroughs in quantum communications, or perhaps our developments in clean energy production? He brought up new diagrams, showing innovations that made even the oldest Alliance species pause. Humans hadn't just pushed ahead in military technology. They had advanced across all fields, finding new solutions the Alliance had never considered. "We didn't break your rules because we wanted to fight," Wilson explained. "We did it because you left us no choice. Your controlled development would have kept humanity dependent on the Alliance forever. We chose a different path." In the gallery, Reed watched the council members' reactions. Some were angry, others afraid, but a few seemed interested. They were starting to see humanity not as a threat to be contained, but as a species that could offer new perspectives, new ways of thinking about problems. "The Alliance faces a choice," Wilson continued. "You can try to punish Earth for protecting itself, starting a conflict that would reveal even more of our hidden capabilities. Or," he paused, letting the tension build, "you can accept that your models of species development need to be reconsidered. You can work with humanity as equals, learning from our innovations just as we've learned from yours." The council chamber filled with urgent discussions. Representatives huddled in groups, arguing in their native languages. The entire power structure of their society was being challenged. "Director Wilson," the council head spoke again, "you realize that accepting Earth as an equal would change everything. Other species would demand the same treatment. The entire hierarchy of technological sharing would need to be restructured." "Yes," Wilson agreed simply. "Perhaps it's time for that change. Perhaps forcing every species to develop along the same path isn't the best way forward. Humanity has proved there are other ways to advance." Cooper nudged Reed gently. "Look at the Arcanian representative," she whispered. "They're already thinking about what they could learn from us." She was right. Several of the more scientifically minded species were showing clear interest in humanity's achievements. The political balance was shifting before their eyes. "We propose a new arrangement," Wilson said into the thoughtful silence. Earth maintains its independence and shares its innovations through negotiated treaties. In return, the Alliance lifts its technological restrictions, allowing for true collaborative development between our species. The Council head looked around the chamber, reading the changing mood. And if we refuse, then we continue developing on our own, Wilson replied calmly. The Prometheus proved we can do that quite effectively, but we'd rather work together. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our ability to think differently, to find new solutions to old problems. The gallery had filled with more observers as word spread about the presentation. Representatives from other young species watched with intense interest. If the Alliance accepted humans as equals, it would set a precedent that could change the fate of dozens of developing civilizations. The Council will need time to discuss this, the head announced finally. But I believe we all recognize that the old system cannot continue unchanged. Humanity has proven that. Wilson nodded, knowing they had achieved their goal. The Alliance wouldn't risk war with a species that could develop such advanced technology in secret. More importantly, they couldn't risk losing access to humanity's innovations. As the Council session adjourned for deliberations, Reed and Cooper made their way down to meet Wilson. Around them, the future of galactic society was being reshaped. Humanity hadn't just protected its independence, it had forced the Alliance to reconsider its entire approach to technological development and species relations. The game had changed, and humans had changed it without firing a single shot. Their willingness to think differently, to find new paths forward, had proven more powerful than any weapon they could have built. 1 month after the Prometheus revelation, Earth's orbital shipyards buzzed with activity. The secret was out, but that hadn't stopped humanity's progress. If anything, it had accelerated it. Admiral Reed watched through the observation window as construction crews worked openly on new projects that had been hidden for years. Amazing how different everything feels in the open, Project Director Wilson said, joining him at the window. No more scrambling to hide things when Alliance inspectors visit. No more maintaining false research programs to throw them off track. Reed nodded, watching a team test new shield generators that would have been forbidden just weeks ago. How are the treaty negotiations going? Better than expected. Wilson handed him a tablet showing the latest diplomatic updates. The Alliance Council finally accepted our terms yesterday. Earth is now recognized as a full sovereign power, with all the rights that come with it, including unrestricted technological development. Below them, the Prometheus floated in its dock, undergoing routine maintenance. The ship that had changed everything looked different in the light of day, its dark hull now proudly displaying Earth's flag and registry numbers. The Arcanians are particularly interested in our AI development techniques, Wilson continued. They've already proposed 3 joint research projects. Turns out they had their own doubts about the Alliance's technological theories. And the other young species? Reed asked, though he already knew the answer. The past month had seen a wave of diplomatic requests from civilizations that had been living under Alliance restrictions. 5 of them have already petitioned for development rights similar to ours. The Alliance can't really refuse, not after accepting our terms. Wilson smiled. The old system is falling apart faster than anyone expected. A soft chime announced the arrival of Defense Minister Cooper. She walked into the observation room carrying fresh reports. Gentlemen, you'll want to see this. The Alliance just approved our proposal for the Joint Defense Initiative. Reed took the offered document, scanning its contents quickly. They actually agreed to let us help protect the trade routes. That's a major shift from their position last month. They didn't have much choice, Cooper replied. 3 more pirate attacks in the outer systems proved their patrol methods weren't working. Our gravity detection system offers better coverage with fewer ships. Wilson moved to a larger display screen, bringing up the status of their various projects. Speaking of ships, the 2nd and 3rd Prometheus-class vessels are proceeding on schedule. But now we can build them in the open, using proper facilities instead of hiding them behind Neptune. The screen showed 2 massive hulls taking shape in Earth's largest shipyard. They incorporated improvements based on everything they'd learned from the first Prometheus, but also included collaboration with Alliance engineers who had been cleared to work with Earth's technology. The Regulans are still complaining, Cooper noted, but even they've started asking questions about our quantum field generators. Their crystal matrix technology hit a development wall a decade ago. Reed turned away from the window. And the AI restrictions? Completely lifted, Wilson confirmed. Once we proved stable artificial intelligence was possible without quantum decision matrices, half the Alliance species admitted they'd been working on alternative approaches in secret too. Turns out we weren't the only ones who saw flaws in their theories. A group of alien scientists walked past the observation room, headed for one of the research labs. It still felt strange to see them working openly with human engineers, sharing ideas and challenging old assumptions on both sides. Any word from the Centauri? Reed asked quietly. The fate of that civilization had been one of the driving forces behind the Prometheus project. Cooper nodded. The Alliance agreed to review their status. With Earth's new position in the Council, we have enough influence to push for their independence. The process will take time, but they'll be free to develop their own technology again. Which brings us to the real question, Wilson said, pulling up another set of files. Now that we don't have to hide everything, where do we go from here? The display filled with research projects that had been kept secret even from the Prometheus team. Medical breakthroughs that could extend human lifespans. Energy systems that could power entire continents without pollution. Communications technology that could bridge the gaps between galaxies. We keep advancing, Reed said firmly. But now we do it as part of the galactic community, not in spite of it. We proved we could develop on our own if we had to. Now let's prove we can be good partners when given the chance. Cooper stepped closer to the window, watching the construction below. The Alliance didn't understand us. They thought controlling technology was the key to maintaining peace. They never realized that trying to hold species back only encourages them to find ways around the restrictions. Human ingenuity, Wilson agreed. We don't just think outside the box. We redesign the box itself. A flash of light caught their attention as the Prometheus powered up its engines for a systems check. The ship that had been their insurance policy was now becoming a symbol of cooperation, proof that progress couldn't be contained by artificial limitations. Latest reports from the diplomatic corps, Cooper said, checking her communications. 3 more Alliance species have requested access to our research methods. Not our technology. They want to know how we approach problems differently. Share it all, Reed decided. The scientific methods, the development processes, everything. The more they understand how we think, the less likely they are to try controlling us again. Wilson nodded, already sending instructions to his research teams. I've already scheduled the first joint development conference. Representatives from 12 species will be there, including some of the Alliance's founding members. They're starting to see that diversity in approach leads to better solutions. Through the window, they could see Earth rising over the horizon, beautiful and blue. The planet had changed more in the past month than in the 20 years since first contact. Humanity had proved itself not just technologically capable, but diplomatically mature enough to handle advancement responsibly. The Prometheus was never really about the technology, was it? Cooper asked softly. It was about proving we had the right to find our own path. And now that path is open to everyone, Wilson agreed. The Alliance is changing. The hierarchy is breaking down. Species are starting to work together as equals instead of following arbitrary development restrictions. Reed watched as a team of human and alien engineers began installing new components on the Prometheus, working together seamlessly. We didn't just change humanity's place in the galaxy. We changed how the galaxy itself works. The 3 of them stood in comfortable silence, watching the activity in the shipyard. The fear and tension of the past month was fading, replaced by a sense of possibility. Earth had secured its independence not through force, but by demonstrating that cooperation worked better than control. The Prometheus would never need to fire its weapons in anger. Instead, it had become something more important. Proof that any species could exceed expectations when given the freedom to develop in their own way. The ship that had been too dangerous to be public had helped create a galaxy where secrets like itself would never be needed again.